The Nazome and Zerai clans anointed themselves as the Chosen Ones, a self-proclamation spurred by the acquisition of an ancient relic that bestowed great powers upon its possessors, but not the wisdom to wield that power. Led by their emperor, the Chosen Ones purged all resistance, annihilating entire races. The planet Hyperia fell into the war era.
Attention, all personnel. Emergency. Enemy ships approaching. Activate perimeter defenses.
In the end, the Chosen Ones achieved compliance, if not obedience. The years of ruthless supremacy that followed took its toll on the Emperor. In his old age, the dying Emperor entrusted the relic to its new heirs. A new era of peace and prosperity is about to begin, or so it seemed.
Criticom was originally released on the PlayStation 1 back in 1995, only a few months after the launch of the system itself. Well, at least in North America. It was a somewhat well-received 3D fighter on the PlayStation by the fighting game community, although it was critically panned by most media outlets of the time. What's interesting is that a lot of people liked the premise, but they found the gameplay to be just a tad too slow compared to other early 3D fighters of the time, including such hits as Virtua Fighter, Tekken, and Battle Arena Toshinden. Over a year after the PS1 release, a Saturn port was unleashed on unsuspecting fans of the genre, and while I would love to tell you just how awesome it is and such a huge improvement over the original, the truth is, it's actually a lot worse. It's slower, looks much choppier as you can see in the video, and just isn't all that interesting when you have Virtua Fighter 2 on the same platform. Criticom was developed by Kronos Digital Entertainment, and if that name sounds somewhat familiar, that's because these are the same people that would eventually go on to create the very cool Fear Effect games. In fact, the only games these fine folks ever created were 3 fighting games, Criticom, Dark Rift, and Cardinal Sin, a PC game called Meat Puppet, and the 2 Fear Effect games, and after that, they closed their doors forever. Criticom on the Saturn doesn't come recommended whatsoever because it's painfully sluggish in relation to all of the Sega-made 3D fighters on the Saturn. There are 3 ways to win a match. Drain your opponent's 2 health bars, this is a single round fighter after all, get a ring out, or have more energy when the timer reaches 0 than your opponent. One problem right out of the gate is that there's no difficulty setting, and by default, the computer blocks virtually every single attack and spams their special attack. This means you'll have a ton of matches end due to the timer running out, not actually by getting knocked out. What's funny is that specials are extremely hard for you to land, but the CPU has no problem whatsoever. Since this fighting system features a lot of grabs and throws, as well as fireballs and combinations that work similar to both the Street Fighter and Virtua Fighter series, it takes a very long time to get the hang of. It feels like 2 completely different games at times. You have 4 primary attacks, 2 kicks, 2 punches, and 2 special buttons. You use many of these in combinations to execute some of the better moves each character has, so I would strongly recommend you invest in an arcade stick. Pressing X and C at the same time can be challenging on any control pad. One interesting element of the game is that fighters learn more moves as they progress through the game, and you can change your fighter at the next match, which is kind of unique, so you don't have to keep the same character all the time. Criticom is also riddled with hit detection issues because fighters are constantly rotating around the arena. As such, sometimes an attack will miss when it connected previously. That means you can't rely on certain attacks or combinations, and that makes this a completely broken fighting game. The graphics look extremely dated today, but they weren't that bad for their time. The biggest gripe I have is with the weird and odd visual effects that occur from time to time, where the energy bars disappear and odd clipping issues occur. Believe it or not, but the backgrounds were actually complemented many years ago, whereas today I find they look really basic. The single-player game features an interesting storyline, and there's actually an FMV intro and ending for each of the game's 8 fighters. It's a shame more story elements weren't thrown into the mix, because those are actually very interesting and the best part of the game. Outside the single-player mode, you can expect a standard 2-player versus mode, and that's pretty much all she wrote. You can pick this one up on eBay for under $5 on a good day, so if you're looking for what's likely the worst fighter in the North American Saturn library, by all means go ahead and pick it up.
Product of a twisted experiment gone wrong, the sentient integrated droids wander aimlessly, destroying all carbon-based life forms.